The Bhagavad Gita, Gita Press, 38th reprint, 2007, Chapter 6. Sri Bhagavan said, "He who does his duty without expecting the fruit of actions is a sannyasi and a yogi both. He is no sannyasi who has merely renounced the sacred fire. Even so, he is no yogi who has merely given up all activity." Arjuna, you must know that what they call sannyasa is no other than yoga, for none becomes a yogi who has not abandoned his thoughts of the world. To the contemplative soul who desires to attain karma yoga, selfless action is said to be the means. For the same man, when he is established in yoga, absence of all thoughts of the world is said to be the way to blessedness. When a man ceases to have any attachment for the objects of senses and for actions, and has renounced all thoughts of the world, he is said to have attained yoga. One should lift oneself by one's own efforts and should not degrade oneself, for one's own self is one's friend, and one's own self is one's enemy. One's own self is the friend of the soul by whom the lower self, consisting of the mind, senses, and body, has been conquered. Even so, the very self of him who has not conquered his lower self behaves antagonistically like an enemy. The Supreme Spirit is rooted in the knowledge of the self-controlled man whose mind is perfectly serene in the midst of pairs of opposites, such as cold and heat, joy and sorrow, and honor and ignominy. The yogi whose mind is sated with knowledge of Nirguna Brahma and knowledge of manifest divinity, who is unmoved under any circumstances, whose senses are completely under control, and to whom earth, stone, and gold are all alike, is spoken of as a God-realized soul. He who looks upon well-wishers and neutrals as well as mediators, friends and foes, relatives and inimicals, the virtuous and the sinful with equanimity, stands supreme. Living in seclusion all by himself, the yogi who has controlled his mind and body and is free from desires and void of possessions should constantly engage his mind in meditation. Having firmly set his seat in a spot which is free from dirt and other impurities, with the sacred kusa grass, a deerskin, and a cloth spread thereon, one upon the other, kusa below, deerskin in the middle, and cloth uppermost, neither very high nor very low, and occupying that seat, concentrating the mind and controlling the functions of the mind and senses, he should practice yoga for self-purification. Holding the trunk, head, and neck straight and steady, remaining firm and fixing the gaze on the tip of his nose without looking in other directions. Firm in the vow of complete chastity and fearless, keeping himself perfectly calm and with the mind held in restraint and fixed on me, the vigilant yogi should sit absorbed in me. Thus, constantly applying his mind to me, the yogi of disciplined mind attains everlasting peace, consisting of supreme bliss, which abides in me. Arjuna, this yoga is neither for him who overeats, nor for him who observes complete fast. It is neither for him who is given to too much sleep, nor even for him who is ceaselessly awake. Yoga, which rids one of woe, is accomplished only by him who is regulated in diet and recreation, regulated in performing actions, and regulated in sleep and wakefulness. When the mind, which is thoroughly disciplined, gets riveted on God alone, then the person who is free from yearning for all enjoyments is said to be established in yoga. As a flame does not flicker in a windless place, such is stated to be the picture of the disciplined mind of the yogi practicing meditation on God. The state in which the mind stuff, subdued through the practice of yoga, becomes passive, and in which realizing God through subtle reasoning purified by meditation on God, the soul rejoices only in God. Nay, in which the soul experiences the eternal and supersensuous joy which can be intuited only through the subtle and purified intellect, and wherein established the said yogi moves not from truth on any account, and having obtained which he does not reckon any other gain as greater than that, and established in which he is not shaken even by the heaviest of sorrow, that state called yoga, which is free from the contact of sorrow in the form of transmigration, should be known. Nay, this yoga should be resolutely practiced with an unwearied mind, completely renouncing all desires arising from thoughts of the world, and fully restraining all the senses from all sides by the mind. He should, through gradual practice, attain tranquility, and fixing the mind on God through reason, controlled by steadfastness, he should not think of anything else. Drawing back the restless and fidgety mind from all those objects after which it runs, he should repeatedly fix it on God. For to the yogi, whose mind is perfectly serene, who is sinless, whose passion is subdued, and who is identified with Brahma, the embodiment of truth, knowledge, and bliss, supreme happiness comes as a matter of course. The sinless yogi, thus uniting his self constantly with God, easily enjoys the eternal bliss of oneness with Brahma. The yogi who is united in identity with the all-pervading, infinite consciousness, whose vision everywhere is even, beholds the self existing in all beings, and all beings as assumed in the self. He who sees me, the universal self, present in all beings, and all beings existing within me, he is never lost to me, nor am I ever lost to him. The yogi who is established in union with me and worships me as residing in all beings as their very self, though engaged in all forms of activities, dwells in me. Arjuna, he who looks on all as one, on the analogy of his own self, and looks upon the joy and sorrow of all equally, such a yogi is deemed to be the highest of all. Arjuna said, Krishna, owing to restlessness of mind, I do not perceive the stability of this yoga in the form of equanimity, which you have just spoken of. For Krishna, the mind is very unsteady, turbulent, tenacious, and powerful. Therefore, I consider it as difficult to control as the wind. Sri Bhagavan said, the mind is restless, no doubt, and difficult to curb, Arjuna, but it can be brought under control by repeated practice of meditation and by the exercise of dispassion, O son of Kunti. Yoga is difficult of achievement by one whose mind is not subdued by him. However, who has the mind under control and is ceaselessly striving, it can be easily attained through practice. Such is my conviction. Arjuna said, Krishna, what becomes of the aspirant who, though endowed with faith, has not been able to subdue his passions, and whose mind is therefore diverted from yoga at the time of death, and who thus fails to reach perfection in yoga? Krishna, swerved from the path leading to God realization, and without anything to stand upon, is he not lost like the scattered cloud, deprived of both God realization and heavenly enjoyment? Krishna, only you are capable to remove this doubt of mine completely, for none other than you can dispel this doubt. Sri Bhagavan said, Dear Arjuna, there is no fall for him either here or hereafter. For, O my beloved, none who strives for self-redemption ever meets with evil destiny. Such a person who has strayed from yoga obtains the higher worlds to which men of meritorious deeds alone are entitled, and having resided there for innumerable years, takes birth of pious and prosperous parents. Or, if he is possessed of dispassion, then not attaining to those regions, he is born in the family of enlightened yogis, but such a birth in this world is very difficult to obtain. Arjuna, he automatically regains in that birth the spiritual insight of his previous birth, and through that he strives harder than ever for perfection in the form of God realization. The other one, who takes birth in a rich family, though under the sway of his senses, feels drawn towards God by force of the habit acquired in his previous birth. Nay, even the seeker of enlightenment on yoga, in the form of even-mindedness, transcends the fruit of actions performed with some interested motive as laid down in the Vedas. The yogi, however, who diligently takes up the practice attains perfection in this very life with the help of latencies of many births, and being thoroughly purged of sin, forthwith reaches the supreme state. The yogi is superior to the ascetics. He is regarded superior even to those versed in sacred lore. The yogi is also superior to those who perform action with some interested motive. Therefore, Arjuna, do become a yogi. Of all yogis, again, he who devoutly worships me with his mind focused on me is considered by me to be the best yogi. Thus, in the Upanishad, sung by the Lord, the science of Brahma, the scripture of yoga, the dialogue between Sri Krishna and Arjuna ends the 6th chapter entitled The Yoga of Self-Control. Next up, Chapter 7, entitled The Yoga of Knowledge of Nirguna Brahma and Knowledge of Manifest Divinity.